Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Conversation. This is a Second Amendment Foundation daily video series. This is our second one. And joining me today is Rob Pincus. If you've gone to Gun Rights Policy Conference or if you watched any of the Gun Rights Policy Conference videos, you've seen Rob. Rob represents 2AO.org. Rob, thanks for joining us today, man.
Glad to be here. This is a really exciting project, and I'm proud to be part of it. And you know, what a day to be part of it too.
Absolutely. Just to let everybody know, full disclosure, we do record these ahead of time. This one will be released on Election Day. So, Rob, let's talk a little bit about, of course, we can't mention election results. We don't know them yet. Even if this were to be recorded live on Election Day, we wouldn't know them yet. But let's talk a little bit about diversity. Not only diversity is great when it comes to gun owners. We need gun owners of every make, model, size, and shape. But we need more than just the NRA. We need more than just the Second Amendment Foundation, right?
Oh, for sure. You know, you got well over 100 million American gun owners, and there is all of the kinds of diversity that we think about in terms of, you know, every shade of you know, human skin and every demographic, religious belief, the economic background, educational background, obviously, you know, rural versus urban. But what's really important to me and the Second Amendment organization is that the thought diversity inside of the gun owning really makes it possible for any one organization to represent that, except at the most, you know, fundamental, you know, we believe in the Second Amendment kind of way. And I think it's really important that there are many organizations at the state level, national level, regional level, and special interest areas inside of the gun community that are heard, especially by people outside of the community.
So special interests inside the gun community, what are some examples of that?
Well, I think it goes, you know, a lot of times I'll talk about car culture, right? When we talk about car culture in the United States, everybody kind of knows what you're talking about. But at the same time, it doesn't mean any one thing, except Americans like cars, right? Now, sure, some people just have cars to go to and from work, but other people are passionate about their vehicles, just like we're passionate about our Second Amendment rights. There are plenty of gun owners who, you know, let's think of armed professional. There are plenty of police officers, people in the military who use guns as tools that may not be gun people, right? So there's some number of those 100 million that aren't passionate about their gun rights, but the ones that are, there's still special interests inside of that. Just like some people like trucks and some people like sports cars and some people like high-end luxury sedans. Well, some people like rifles and some people like pistols and some people are into hunting. Some people are into competition with guns, and some people are very into the training and preparation to use guns to defend themselves or others, not just as a utilitarian purpose, the tool, but really it's what they're passionate about. And I consider myself one of those people, you know, as an educator in the gun community, somebody who's very passionate about pushing the envelope and helping people to be as prepared as possible to defend themselves. That is one of the special interest groups to me. And I'm wearing a USCCA shirt today. I think they're an organization that really would be an example of one that focuses on the defensive use of firearms in the average civilian's hands, home or in the workplace. And that's a special interest group. It's a subset of that 100 million.
Okay. Very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about, you just completed your second annual 2A rally. This one was supposed to be in Washington, D.C. at the beginning of the year when you started planning it. It was going to be in Washington, D.C. COVID happened, and the rally had to get moved. Talk about your rally a little bit, and you are planning on doing that again in 2021, right?
Right, 2021, and we do hope to be back on the Capitol grounds in Washington, D.C. You know, the inaugural event in 2019 was on the West Lawn of the Capitol. It was an amazing event. We had 30 speakers, again, that represented not just that kind of superficial diversity, but really deep thought diversity under the umbrella of, you know, we believe in the Second Amendment, we believe in the rights protected by the Second Amendment, and we believe that they are worth defending. This year's theme was celebrating and defending the rights protected by our Second Amendment. And we had over 30 speakers. One of the upsides to being virtual was we were able to schedule more speakers in. Of course, you helped us with that live broadcast and did a masterful job of every time you get involved, it seems like, in making sure people's voices get heard in the Second Amendment community. I think that's so important to us. And when you raised your hand and told me and the other people on the organizing committee you'd help out, it made this leap from in-person to virtual that much easier of a pill to swallow. We'd all rather be standing there in DC, looking forward to being back there in 2021. It was actually December of 2019. It was just weeks after the rally in 2019 that we secured the permit to be back on the Capitol grounds. And I will tell you, as disappointing as it is, the Capitol Police, who control that, and the guys that I work with there and the people that have helped us put this on in the past and are, I'm sure, going to help us in 2021, they did not enjoy having to tell me that our permit was now going to be limited to 50 people. Obviously, we were planning on 5,000 to 10,000, but this way, virtually, as we learned with GRPC, as you learned with AmCon, in some ways, it's easier for more people to participate, especially in the short term, because you can do it, from your living room. I'm in an RV right now. I can do it from my cell phone. You can watch this speech. What I really like about it is you can hit share. While you're watching the speech, it's so easy. When you're in a crowd, you're cheering. You're taking a selfie at best. But when you're watching it virtually, it's so easy on Facebook to do the watch party, or on Instagram to share it to your story, to put that video clip up, to share the link in a chat room or in a comment section. And I know people take advantage of that, and it is very powerful. So 2021 will have the best of both worlds. People will be conditioned to share the information immediately and often across all social media platforms, but also we'll be back in person.
Very cool. Very cool. If we could, let's talk a little bit about what you hope to accomplish with the rally at the Capitol.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, and I think for most of the members that have been involved with the organizing committee, is that we are giving voice loudly and proudly on a national scale to some of the organizations and to some of the, I think, thought processes and ideas that go into Second Amendment advocacy that aren't always represented by the national organizations, right? Now, so for example, one of our speakers in 2020 is Alan Gottlieb, the founder of the Second Amendment Foundation, right? Mm-hmm. His voice, what he represents, the work that SAF does in the courts especially, it's really important to hear that voice, and that voice be heard by people who think that this is all about, preventing laws from going into place, or preventing restrictions, preventing things from happening to us. A lot of times it's about regaining lost rights. And I think Second Amendment Foundation has a perspective and a message on regaining lost rights and how important it is, yes, to prevent further infringement, but also to push back some of the damage that's been done. That's an important voice to be heard. All the way down to somebody who, I think of Leo Katsaris. Leo Katsaris, here's an immigrant to the United States, active duty military personnel. He's a practicing Muslim, and he's a passionate gun rights advocate, and just that combination of check marks on the demographic list. I don't know that anybody inside the gun community would know that guy exists, let alone outside the gun community. If all you're watching is like the old NRA TV stuff, or if all you're seeing is the join this group or join this organization, shall not be infringed, pounding on the table kind of stuff. And honestly, that gets mocked a lot, in the gun control or the anti-gun side, as if that's all we care about and that's all we are, is, quoting the founding fathers and saying shall not be infringed without regard for the bigger picture. Here's a guy who's moved to this country. He's serving this country. He's incredibly proud of being part of our military and our nation. And he's incredibly passionate about the Second Amendment and our gun rights and why they're important to him. Oh, and by the way, he also happens to be a practicing devout Muslim, which you just don't see that often speaking up in the gun rights community. So being able to put him on the stage next to Eric Pratt, who runs Gun Owners of America, Alan Gottlieb that I mentioned. You got a guy like Kevin Dixie, who is passionate first and foremost about civil rights and freedoms. And he does it from a perspective of teaching people about the history of our country and the history of civil rights infringements, particularly against African Americans. But really the messages and those stories apply to everybody, because you see it happening now. You see the threat of infringement on civil rights across the board. And oh, by the way, the Second Amendment's probably a really important one to talk about, because if you lose that right, it's so much easier to see the other ones removed and infringed. And that's, of course, what has happened to the African American community post-emancipation. The fact that they could not exercise their Second Amendment rights, or it was very difficult for them to do that, allowed countless other oppressions to continue even after slavery was abolished. And he tells that story so eloquently and so passionately. So these voices that are represented at the rally, to me, really are an extension of the work that like Second Amendment organization does in trying to encourage and empower grassroots advocates to speak up. And you can be a grassroots advocate at the coffee shop. You can be a grassroots advocate, when you lean into the cubicle next to you at work. You can be a grassroots advocate sitting in the stands watching your kids' baseball or soccer game. And that's our message. And what we want is enough diversity, even in the way people work or exist in the gun community on that rally stage, to remind people that, Leo, who you've never heard of, and Kevin, who you've kind of heard of, but you didn't understand the depth of his message, and Alan, who everybody knows in the community, they can all stand on that stage together and equally speak their truth and represent their thoughts about celebrating and defending the Second Amendment. I think it's really important, and it's been very motivational. One of the other speakers we had, the Locked and Loaded Latino on the stage this year speaking together. They were actually attendees at the 2019 rally. And, Johanna's talked about how she was sort of a closeted gun owner. She was not out and proud as a gun owner. Rolando was, and it was them both attending, and especially her, before they got married, attending that rally with him, that inspired her to speakers. So they're sort of the archetype of what this rally and Second Amendment nation hope to do, which is inspire people to share their stories and be proud American gun owners, advocating for the expansion of our rights and certainly the defense of our rights in the bigger picture.
We're starting to get some digital gremlins sneaking up on our connection here, but Rob, I'd be really remiss if we didn't, before we take off here. People want to get more information about the rally, and the rally, it's up forever. You can get it pretty much anywhere you watch your video, right?
Yeah, the videos are out there. Obviously, we have our YouTube channel. It's on social media, Rally for Your 2A Rights at Facebook. This is the logo you're looking for, the 2A Rally flag. A lot of people proudly displaying that. And you can go to secondamendmentrally.com. And at secondamendmentrally.com, you'll find links to the videos, the speakers, all the speakers from both years. And as we get ready to plan 2021, you'll be able to register for more information. And of course, we hope to see, 5 to 10, maybe 15,000 people on the Capitol grounds next October or November. The date is to be determined. We'll probably set it here in December. Obviously, there's a lot of variables right now. We're all sort of waiting and watching. I don't expect we're going to learn anything on Election Day, but very soon we're going to have a very, very dark, troubled future in the gun rights advocacy community coming up here for the next couple of years at least. And I think it's really important that these voices, that your voices, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you're a gun owner, your voice is one of those voices that I and Second Amendment organization believes should be heard. We're not all going to agree on everything. We are not just one stereotype or, one caricature of gun ownership in America. And sharing that thought diversity is incredibly important.
Well, and we're having those gremlins creep up again. But I want to thank you, Rob, for joining us today, man. And I know we're going to have you back on to do this again.
It's great. I'm really excited about this. I'm excited about what's going on with you, with Second Amendment Foundation. Thank you very much for letting me be a part of this new project.
Thank you. Folks, we are going to step aside, come back, and check us out again tomorrow.